Hi everyone, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. Today I have my neighbor's 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee here, and the customer complaint is there's a loud kind of popping sound when you're taking off from a stop and you really give it some gas. Let's see if we can recreate it. Seems to be pretty repeatable. This thing has over 200,000 miles on it, and she said that all they've done is oil changes. So that's pretty impressive. There you go, almost 202,000 miles. Let's put in drive and give it some gas. Wow. You guys hear that? Well, I guess it won't won't let you stay in drive if sounds like it's coming right from under the driver's seat. What the heck could that be? My first suspicion is something to do with the transfer case, but let's do a little research online and see if we can find some information on this. I assume that a lot of these vehicles have over 200,000 miles on them, and this should be I'm sure other people have run into this problem. Alright, the beauty of YouTube. WK2 Jeep Grand Cherokee Transfer Case Noise Fixed. The Diesel Scientist. Let's give some credit to this guy. Listen.
The problem we're having is under harder acceleration, it would make like a clanking or like almost like a knocking noise, but you could feel it. Like you could tell in the floorboard, it wasn't like an engine knock, but a drivetrain style knock. So from my understanding, what it is the transfer case chain has stretched, because this is the all-wheel drive. It's the Quadra track transfer case, and because it's all-wheel drive, the chain always has stress on it because you can't take it out of four-wheel drive. So this only has 100,000 miles on it, but we're going to tear into it and try to figure out what the chain issue is. Never done this before, so I will post some updates. This exhaust.
Alright, so he goes through and actually does this procedure of replacing the timing or the transfer case chain. Remove the drive shaft, and right here, that's what it looks like.
On the side, the old chain did, you can tell that it's stretched. So the new chain should make a big difference. I also got the snubber. I got a new snubber.
That's the little chain guide.
So we will get this installed.
So apparently you can do this procedure in the truck without removing the transfer case, which is really nice. So just remove the rear drive shaft, drain the fluid, take off this cover off the back.
There's not much slop in that at all, so that is good to go. You're probably supposed to replace the gears, but there wasn't like excessive wear on the gears, so I didn't feel a need to.
So let's get to it. I'm 99.9% sure that's what the issue is with this Jeep. It has 200,000 miles on it. His only had 100,000 miles on it. Let's jack it up and get this transfer case torn apart. So by the way, I already did my homework about a week ago and ordered the transfer case chain made in the USA from Rock Autos, the genuine Mopar unit. So you got to order by VIN because these Jeeps have different style four-wheel drive systems. This is like the base model where it's just a single speed transfer case all the time, all-wheel drive with no actuators, no fancy torque distribution. It's just like a viscous coupling. The next level up is single speed with an actuator to vary the torque between the front and rear axles, and the fancy model has a 2-speed transfer case with an actuator. So this is like the base model, so it should be pretty straightforward. Okay, we have the Jeep safely jacked up on 4 big jack stands plus a safety jack up there. So let's take a look at this drivetrain system. So here is the transfer case. And obviously this is the rear drive shaft. And if you turn it, you'll see how much slop there is before the front drive shaft starts to move. So if I'm turning the rear drive shaft, you can see the front wheels are also turning. But it's about that much slop, you can hear the chain in there before, you know, the other shaft starts to turn. So what we have to do is take off the rear drive shaft and drain the fluid, take off this rear transfer case cover, and replace the chain. So shouldn't be that difficult, but we'll see. So if you just want to inspect your chain, you can actually see it through the fill plug of the transfer case. You see this fluid, it's completely black, it's burnt. It's supposed to be like transmission fluid, so kind of a pink color. So there's the chain in there. It is super loose. I mean, the slack is ridiculous. So we're definitely going after the right part. Let's drain this out. So there's still fluid in there, you know, so that's at the right level, but it doesn't take much fluid at all. Like maybe half a quart. Crazy. Alright, let's take out the drain plug. Don't lose the washer. Ah, crap, made a mess already. That's it. That's all the fluid there is in there. And half of it I spilled on the floor. Alright, now let's undo this flange for the rear drive shaft. So you want to make sure these holes where the socket sits are very clean. Blow them out with compressed air, because you don't want your socket to slip and strip one of these bolts. So I have a strap wrench to hold the drive shaft in place while make sure the socket's nice and tight in there. And these are, they must be Loctited or something. There we go. They come out pretty hard the whole way. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 bolts here, 8 bolts on the back. Let me undo those, get this drive shaft out of the way, and then we'll get to the transfer case. So the front flange is free. So 6 bolts, and then if you live in the Rust Belt, you're gonna have to soak this in WD-40 and just kind of pry against this rubber damper, one side, then the other side. Hopefully it'll come loose. This one wasn't too bad. It's a Maryland car, so not too much rust, which is nice. Heat shields off of this carrier bearing. Now it's like a 15. Get these off. Let me spray some WD-40 in these pockets because I think there's some rust on these bolts. Well, I guess using an impact on these is not a good idea. Both bolts snapped clean off. You can see there's blue Loctite in there. Oh, that's not good. It's going to be a lot of extra work to put this back together. Dang. So Chrysler really went to town with this Loctite stuff. These bolts, they're hard to break loose. You have to make sure that the socket's all the way in. You don't want to strip these out. And once you have them backed out a few turns, you can sneak in there with a little swivel extension and your impact, so 1/2 inch down to 3/8 down to the 8mm hex. So first you want to make sure that the socket is seated all the way in the bolt. Okay, now this extension, Harbor Freight, it's a little swivel. That's just enough room to get over the exhaust pipe, get in there, and man, that one's still tight. Well, the other 6 came out no problem. Let's try this one. See, that's not all the way in. There we go. That's all the way in. So by the way, I'm using the RevStar 1/2" impact. It's very compact and it almost performs as well as the big Earthquake. Not quite, but for the size, it's about half the size of the Earthquake. This thing's a little beast. I'll put a link in the description. Nice. Got the last one. So that green Loctite is pretty good glue. Now, how do we get this out of the cup? Just WD-40 all the way around and kind of tap at it until it comes out. So this drive shaft flange is really stuck in the cup. So the trick is to preload it a little bit with a floor jack. I mean, just a little bit, so it tries to tilt, and then just hammer right here with a little air hammer and try to just free it up. I think it's working. There, it's coming out. I think that should be good. So now let's release the jack. Ta-da! That wasn't terrible. We gotta get this shaft out of here and then do the transfer case and then fix the carrier bearing mounting bolts. Alright, let's go after the transfer case. So these are E10 bolts holding the case together. So the impact does pretty easy work of these. Make sure that the socket is all on the bolts. Alright, just a few more left. I'll need a different socket for these guys. Beautiful. So all the bolts are out of the case. Let's see if we can pry this thing open. And they do give you a nice spot to pry right here on the passenger side. So let's see what happens. Yes. We got drips. Okay. Okay, so it's loose all the way around. I think we can just slide it back. Oh, here we go. Sweet. That's awesome. Put that on the rubber damper. And there's our super loose chain. Look at that. Yep, that's definitely skipping teeth. So let's pop the new one on. These should just slide right off. Yep. Pretty straightforward. Alright, so this thing just slides off both sprockets. No circlips or anything. Just be careful. Put it down here. Slap on the new chain. Alright, old chain, new chain. Let's just transfer the sprockets into the new chain. So. And put this thing back on the car. Man, that's pretty simple. Just kind of rotate it, make sure the splines are happy, and go in. There we go. Wow. That's how tight it's supposed to be. Look at that. That's amazing. This should last another 200,000 miles, right? Fit like a glove. Just for people who are curious, this is the center differential. So input shaft comes in, output shaft goes out to the back, then the chain output shaft to the front. So you can see the spider gears. This is an open diff, and the way the traction control system works is it'll just sense if a wheel's slipping, it'll apply the brakes on that wheel, and that'll transfer torque to the other wheel. So pretty straightforward system. No locking diffs, no viscous couplings, no anything like that. Yeah, that's it. So the chain, there's no pump in here. The chain just kind of... Was there a pump? Ooh, maybe we should clean off this little screen. This plastic thing, maybe that's just the drain for it. I don't see any pumping mechanism. I think this is just a simple differential just spinning in here. That must be just a magnet. And there's a lot of gray goop on it. Yep, so just a simple little magnet in here. Let's take it out, wipe it clean, and put it back in. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on here. It's not supposed to be ribbed like that. It's just supposed to be a flat. Wow. Crazy. RTV spread around the perimeter. I'm going to slap this thing on, put it off camera just so everything goes smoothly, and we'll take this thing for a test drive after filling this thing up with some fluid. Alright, let's fill up the transfer case with some Valvoline Max Life ATF. It's compatible with, well, pretty much everything. This transfer case calls for Mercedes-Benz fluid. A certain part number, but here we go. This should only take about half a quart. Sweet. Alright, now we have to deal with these stuck, snapped off bolts for the carrier, for the drive shaft. So I'm looking inside the pocket with a bore scope just to see what we're up against. And there's the corroded remains of the bolt. I think it actually extends pretty far. So I don't know if we can screw it in. There it is. There's the nut. There's the rusty bolt. If we can screw it in far enough to get it out and fish it out with a magnet or something, or just leave it in the pocket and replace it. So what are the options? You can heat this whole thing up, maybe melt some of that Loctite off, and then either just drill straight through and see if it'll start turning that way, or weld something on here and try to back it out or turn it forward. Either way, we have to go one way or another here. Well, here's going to be the fix for the bolts. So I drilled them out, nicked the threads a little bit, but found these studs, M10 by 1.5 thread, and they thread in very nicely. So we'll run these in and then just use nuts to hold the carrier up, because Well, just because it'll be a lot more reliable to take it off, so we don't have to worry about if anything rusts in there. I might even tack weld these to the body so they never come out, and that'll be that. So drive shaft is back on, better than factory. Installed studs and double nuts. So first the nut that secures the carrier to the body, and then this heat shield, so they're not going anywhere. Super solid. So we're also doing the rear differential, front differential, and transmission fluid change. So when we finish that up, and we'll take this thing for a test drive. Pretty easy to do. All the drain plugs come out really nicely because it's a pretty clean Jeep. It spent most of the time down south, so if it lived here for 10 years, it would look much worse. Well, here we have a little, I would call this a Jeep fail. They put the fill plug right next to the oil pan, so you can't get a socket on there. There's literally that much room. So let me figure out how to get this one out. This one's easy, the drain. If I can squeeze an L wrench in there. Oh man, just barely fit. There's like a millimeter of clearance. Alright. There we go. So we'll back it out. Hopefully we can get the rest by hand. Or something like this. I don't know why they would do that. Let's see what comes out of the front diff here. Well, not too bad. It's still see through it. Kind of dark. But 200,000 miles, it's time to change that out. So last thing I want to do is drain and fill the transmission with fresh fluid. Now, it says use only Chrysler 8-speed trans fluid, special part number. Again, Max Life crosses over to that, like Lifeguard 8. So we're going to use that. So here's the fill plug. There's the drain plug. Should be pretty straightforward. But I don't know how much is going to come out just during a drain. The total capacity is like 9 quarts. So I guess we have to be careful. Oh, that's a 10. Let me start draining this thing out. I was afraid to strip out this drain plug. It's kind of like notchy. Interesting. Oh, here we go. Definitely doesn't look red. So I'm going to open the fill plug right up here. Oh, that's really black. Jeez. Yeah, I'd say it's time to change that fluid for sure. So we'll measure exactly how much came out. We'll put the same amount back in by tilting the Jeep so the nose is down, and then we should be able to get the level in there without running it. That is some black fluid, geez. Still shifted fine. But if you want your transmission to last, fresh fluid if you want 200,000 miles in this fluid, that's impressive. We should change it every 60,000 miles or so. Alright, I took the drain plug out all the way. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal streams. That's pretty neat. I've never seen that before. And we're still filling up the first pan. So the total amount of fluid drained, that's 4 quarts plus a little bit. So maybe 4.5 quarts. So let me put in 1 jug and then we'll measure that and finish it off. So I have to tilt the Jeep that way and that way to fill all the fluid, you know, without running it. But it's all done, so let's set it back down and take it for a test drive. Alright, we're out to the paved road. Let's do a hard acceleration, make sure there's no clunking. Smooth as butter. It's a really smooth car, really quiet. So that's it. If your Jeep Grand Cherokee is popping and banging when you're taking off from a stop sign or something, you know, under heavy throttle, and you have some miles on it, check your transfer case chain. You can remove the fill plug and just, you know, put a little screwdriver in there. If there's a lot of slop, that's your problem. Pretty easy overall to replace. I'm pleasantly surprised. And as far as, you know, big crossovers that can actually go off-road, yeah, I mean, this thing drives like a new car at 200,000 miles. Not many cars these days can say that. So just keep up on your fluids, and that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.